These two screws, they are always short screws. Just make note of that if you're ever pulling apart a 1502. They're not substantially shorter, but they are shorter than the ones that go the rest of the way around. And good evening to everybody. Welcome again. Thank you for returning to the stream, for all those who usually watch me. And if you're new, welcome. Take a seat. Get your certified backseat repair driver label and present yourself. Alright, this looks pretty clean. This has had work done on it before, so I think a screen fix or battery fix. Yeah, battery fix. And it's suffering black screen of death. Now, personally, I'm not overly quite sure about the black screen of death. I actually don't recall encountering it much. But it will, I think it just means stalled. Let's see. Will only power up after long periods of not responding. When it does start up, it will display the black screen of death, then will error out with a strange screen, tear and garble. Alrighty. Okay, first thing we'll do is disconnect this battery. Yeah, come on. Hey Harold. And everybody else. It's a very pristine looking machine. First thing we're going to do is take the data drive out. We don't want any accidentos with that. I'm just going to put the number on it because I found occasionally the stickers do come off. So at least if I have the pen on it, it gives me that backup of security in the event I do something dumb. We all like to have a bit of security against doing dumb things, especially when you do them as often as I do. Okay. Rightio, well at this point I'm going to plug it in. I will put our usual testing thingy-jiggy-wiggy on and see what it does. I'm kind of curious if it might be the daughter board, in fact, that's causing the issue. Because the daughter board handles its own display and a few other things, so we'll see. Okay, first thing we do get... Oh, that's a RAM failure. Alright, we've got a RAM failure. Or at least it's telling us that it thinks it has a RAM failure. Let's reduce it down as much as we can and see if we still have that issue. Hey Mark Rescue, Gavin, Full Wave, Andrew, Miles, Travis, Jim. Hello Jim. Jim, that video you were talking about, was that the one where Lewis was traversing around the streets looking at various houses? And then he was talking about how he wouldn't bother putting certain people out who are on fire. Oh yes, Harold, I did get that message last night, by the way. I do have a very large stash of these batteries in various forms. Oh, that always hurts the fingertip a fair bit. Actually, I need to plug this back in. And we'll see if we've still got our 3 beeps. I will need a speaker for that too. I've kind of overzealously disconnected too many things. Okay, yeah, no, it's good to know. I actually I got access to that one, Jim. So, all good. Alright. So it's not the daughter board. Keyboard's disconnected. Backlight. disconnected. Okay, take the camera out. I know. You gotta. Could be anything. Let's try again. You gotta do this. You gotta eliminate bit by bit. Alright, so it seems like this A1502 really wants to back up on me. Looks like the microphone was still connected there, but that probably shouldn't result in such behavior. Looks like I'm going to need those RAM chips. Let's hope not. They are sitting under there. These ones I find a tad frustrating to get out. Well, this whole laptop looks like it's been kept in exceptionally good condition. So, a pat on the back for the owner. I hate it when that happens. Your finger gets snared on something as you go across. I think we're about done. We'll leave the fan connected on this model. Otherwise it gets really messy getting it out, and you tend to cause more damage than you're trying to avoid. Okay. Yep. Actually, I'll put the glasses on never. Hey, Nick Vasey. By the way, I did end up ordering my CNC system. Many thanks to Wayne, who emailed me to let me know it had gone on special, because I was, if you were here last night, you'll recount that I was planning on getting it, and then the price jumped up by about 150 bucks, and it seems like they just reapplied a special on it, so I jumped in this time and got it. That was my second chance. Okay, let's see if we got any corrosion or anything at all that's happened here. Any sort of knockoffs, accidents, anything like that. So 2.78. Sorry, Mark. Not sure what you mean, but lots of what? Lots of subs to come to see. Yeah, I don't think I'll be doing stencils with this one. I will be doing jigs to hold though. I did have the brushless motor. Okay, there's one thing there that I've just noticed. I did have the brushless motor trimmer, router and motor, but I decided to stick with just the canned brush motor, at least until I know what I'm dealing with and what I need. Mark was just saying to Jim, the flow of viewers and chatters that come in. Oh, right, yes, yeah. Yes, Tom, a very clean board it is, which is, of course, typically our worst nightmare. A clean board yields few clues as to the fault. Sometimes a clean board can be a clue in itself for certain conditions, particularly on things like iPhones. Like if you're not taking power on an iPhone and you've got a clean board, then it's probably going to be things like TriStar. Hey Teresa, very sorry to hear about what's happening there. unfortunately, it's something. Well, there's just no way of making it easier, is there? Okay, so we've got a little bit of corrosion there, but that looks like a ground flood. But it gives us a chance that we may actually have a corrosion related issue. Yeah, they both look like ground ones. Hey, Godfrey, let's see if they're ground. Yeah, they're ground. Yeah, that's true too. It doesn't make it that much easier, I know. I think what's particularly difficult is the fact that you have to go through the night waiting. It's the waiting bit. Now, obviously, I know people are going to say, well, at least it's not you. But it's just never easy. And it's never gotten easier for me either. It's hard every damn time. Honestly, I find it harder than like when we lost my father last year. That was, I gotta say, that was a lot easier than what you're going through tomorrow. I know that sounds a little bit weird and callous, but it's the reality of it. It's I think because a lot of it's the whole communication thing. Well, it kind of sucks that we got a little bit of corrosion there, but nothing too obvious anywhere else. I'm somewhat disinclined to go and just pop the RAM plate off and reflow those RAMs. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels that way, Teresa. I don't know, it's just... Yeah, some people look at you real funny when you say such things. As if to go, what are you? Heartless, soulless? And it's like, hell no. It's just... there's more than just the loss. There's more than just the goodbye. It's everything that leads up to it, and just trying to provide the comfort. These shields can be a little bit tricky. I don't want to just go all ham-fisted at it, because that's how you break other parts off the board. Like, as in, don't go ham-fisted at it like I'm doing now. Basically, I need to get just under there. There we go. There. This one's on particularly well. Yeah, Travis, I'm the same. Yep. I'm exactly the same. I mean, there are some humans I like, but as a general rule, I'll sooner go with the animalistic variety. If I mess up this shield, that's okay. I've got quite a few others. But obviously you don't want to mess up the shield. By mess up the shield, I mean if you try to lever it back too quickly, it will suddenly just crimp on it itself. Like right here, it will do that if I'm... Come on. Ah. They were on stamps. Jessica, welcome. Yeah, I just find it really difficult to believe that this is where the fault is. I have a feeling I'm going to check the rails to the RAM because I have a feeling that's probably a more likely culprit. You know, one of the rails have been taken out. I mean, I know the 1502 can at times have issues with the RAM. You know, certainly I've had a couple where I've had to reflow them, but it's very much a last resort for me. Maybe it's just me denying the reality, but we'll check the rails. Now I've got to remember how to do that. This is a 4924. I actually should create a guide for the 4924 for checking RAM, or in fact all of them for that matter. Just above the SSD connector, green resistor. Yeah, Mark, you're not helping one bit, are you? No, you don't help one bit. That 470, that's for the input. You know, that's your PP bus input to 342 and such. That doesn't help me for my RAM. Hey, Blue Dog. No, it's not burnt. If you did have a burn on there, you would probably have issues with... you wouldn't get MagSafe Light or SMC coming up. It's just the coloration of it. Okay, anyway, let's get to the rails. These ones should do just nicely, thank you. Alright, so we'll just plug it in, see what happens, see if we get any activity. There's no point me putting the speaker in, we know it's going to be beeping. Damn it, Mr. Daniels needs to get a separate MagSafe cable. Let's see, 1502, I'll take you. I choose you, 1502. Choose you. Yeah, it's pretty sad. I'm becoming Ralph with them. Okie dokie. So let's see. We want... I'm just going to put the schematics up on another window, I'm sorry. So 1B2S3 wire. Okay, it's a big cluster of caps there. Okay, 1.2, that's pretty close. 1.9, can't complain about that really. VDD2. That's interesting. What? Alright, so let's see. VDDCA. You're gonna go to the same place. These are all aliases of the same damn thing. Okay. See, this one here is a 1v8. Okay, 1v8, that current sense resistor above the two caps, right there. I can feel the CPU's warm. Okay, 179. You watch, it's probably booting now. Hey Steve K. It was good to see Paul S. did a repair video, that was nice. I am out of sync a little bit. Not much I can probably do at this point, I'm afraid. Let's see, I don't even know which camera that is. So face is 4. I'll just see if there's no buffering option, so I'm afraid there's basically stuff all I can do. Sorry folks. Yeah, I have a feeling this is booted. Just gonna get my chipmunk and see if that's actually the case. Although the fan hasn't started spinning yet. Not that it does very quickly on these 2015s, but... oh, squeaky has. Let's see if we get a blink of CPU activity, or whether it's just not doing anything. It may be just running the CPU, but not actually doing anything else. Yeah, but it's just doing the beep, 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 and that's about it. Yeah, I think it's just doing the beep, beep, beep. Catherine? Oh, I gotta go back to my rails. I'm actually not sure how many rails the RAM runs with. I'll just look for everything that's got DDR on it. Let's see. One V2, 1v2, 1v8, 0.6 we want next. Hey, the van's spinning. What the? That's interesting. So the SMC clearly does do its job even when the CPU's not alive. Okay, fun stuff. Okay, 0.6 is basically on every single one of those little bits and pieces up the top. So I can pretty much pick any single one, and we do have 0.6. So I've got S3 DDR buffer. I don't know actually what that is. All I know is it's under the SMC. It's on U, 7400 just up here. Hey, hectic. 0.6. Well, this is starting to get frustrating because I'm basically finding all the rails that I'm meant to find, and we're still getting the DDR issue. We could have the problem that a CPU itself or PCH itself is kaput. Hey, B-Dog. Okay, there's another couple I've got to check yet. Just down here. I think. Or is it up here? Okay, that test point right in the middle, it should be 1v2. Yep, that's 1v2. I'll check 1v05 sus. There's a little bank of resistors over here. That's close enough. Hey GD Tech, you're having a crappy day, but you're watching... Well, let's hope that I don't make that worse for you. Well, the fan spin is coming in and out, all perfectly normal. It's rather peculiar. Let's see, 1.5, that's right. Probably connection under CPU. Well, it's not actually running yet, that's the problem. Like this, the fan is working, the CPU is not. And the fan is controlled by the SMC as far as I can tell. I'm just double checking now I haven't missed a DDR rail. Because you only need one not to be there, and then obviously it's not going to work. Okay, there's a couple of voltage reference rails that I'll look at. So I'm just trying to work out where I am on this. Yes, you are right there, Harold. I do believe indeed that it is generated by the CPU. I guess what I'm thinking is at this point it is not going to come out of that mode, so it's not going to start doing any USB activity for us, unfortunately. The VREFs are all fine too. Alright, well, as much as I hate it, it looks like we're down to the reflow process because I can't really find any fantastic smoking guns, and yeah, like I said, I hate doing the reflow. Hey Jason, it's a 4924. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be doing the reflow. Much to my dismay, not a big fan. Mostly because it makes things quite messy, subjects the board to a considerable level of heat, and you don't know whether you end up disrupting the true cause of what the fault is. And invariably things get melted. So, you know, it's basically got everything not going for it. Customer board, this one. So we're gonna, wrong way around. I was going to say we're going to run the hot air from, we're going to actually run it from this side, blow it across that way, at least avoids the CPU as much as possible. I will try and shield off those plastic connectors. Practice makes perfect. It's more a case of it's a pain in the backside. Like I said, I just don't like subjecting the boards to such heat levels. No, actually, I haven't found that board, Tech Fortress. I even went out and checked in my shed outside and it wasn't there. Yeah, just in case I absent-mindedly put it out in the shed, but no, it wasn't there. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to preheat the board a bit before I put flux on, because otherwise you burn away so much flux just getting up to temperature, and then you've got to add more and more on, and it just turns into a great gooey mess. So I figure a minute or so of just this hot air should help. Alright, time to start putting the flux on. Start the smoky effect. Kind of helps if you put the flux on the board next to the chips rather than on the chip. And I'm gonna have to go under the microscope to see what I'm doing. Are you back to using the quick? No, I'm still using the Atom. Strictly speaking, I should actually start from up here, because then at least as I'm moving forward, the heat that's flowing off this will, you know, go towards the job I'm about to do. Yeah, if I'm lucky, I'm not going to even have to tap them. Hopefully they'll just jump up a little bit with the shifting of the balls. The first one's always the one that takes forever. Yeah, I can see it. I think it just... Yep, there we go. Yep. That one feels a little stuck. That second one felt stuck. And this will probably produce no change at all. Yes, this is actually the genuine Amtech. It's interesting to note that has a wavy flag on it, whereas the... I mean, look, these are all genuine, but they're different processes. So this is the other process, but it is a genuine. This was, purchased from Amtech. But this is not the one that people are after. This doesn't smell really that great. If you're lucky, it's got a little bit of a lemony smell, but really not much at all. It just smells like toxic flux as usual. This one, on the other hand, smells like deliciousness. So you can see the differences in their appearance. This one is more transparent. This has got more of like a whipped honey kind of look. Creamed honey. Jason, yeah, sure, I'll send you a couple of tubes. I've got more than I can use, so I'll send you a couple. Alright. And look at that, we took a board that was actually looked pretty good, and now it's a... Yeah. Now it's not so pretty. I'm pretty happy overall. I didn't use too much flux on that. Stop sniffing the flux. That would be about right too. Hello, Mark. Now the other problem is, even if this has magically fixed it, it still leaves us with the predicament of, what did we fix? Did we just temporarily make the RAM behave, or is it something that it's now permanently resolved? I just need to wash out the flux from that fan connector, unfortunately. Cool. Oh, goodness sake, Paul. Fortunately, that's IPA that I dropped on there, but even still, just dreadful. Let's see if we can get it up with minimum spreadage. I do provide warranty, yes, but I prefer not to have to provide warranty, in the sense of I prefer to get the job done right the first time and never see it again. Which, yeah, I think everybody can appreciate that. Because when a job comes back because something didn't go right, then initially you're dealing with a person who is obviously not going to be too happy about the fact that they either have to send it back, or whatever issues have come up. And then there's, of course, you're going to have to dig through and try and find out what's going on. Was it something you did? Was it something? Warranties are the worst because of reasons other than just giving money back if you had to. If it was just as easy as like, oh well, look, here's your money, everybody's happy. But it never is that easy, because the people aren't going to be happy because they now have wasted their time and effort on you. And even though they've got their money back, they don't have their time back, and who knows what you did to the board. Maybe they're never going to get it back again, as in it's never going to work like it could have worked. I do occasionally, as you know, get warranty jobs. Fortunately, most of them seem to be just little stupid things. Others often have been not actually my fault. It's not truly a warranty job, but I still do it anyway. Oh right, for this board, if the fix is temporary. Yeah, if it's temporary and it comes back, then I'll probably just give them back their money. Well, that looks like that's fixed it. No beeps. Now what I'll do is I will run mem test on it extensively. So unfortunately it's very difficult to conclusively prove that it works. It's trying to prove a negative sort of thing. There's nothing to say 2 seconds after you stop testing it that it's going to stop working. And that is always the issue. When you can't conclusively tie off a job, it's always got that little thread, and you're wondering one day whether you're going to get that email from the person saying, it's been working great for the last 3 months, but all of a sudden it stopped and it started doing that beeping thing again, so can you fix it under warranty? And fair enough. Bong. Yep, so that's fixed. Last time I fixed the charging on a laptop, a week later it came back a dead PCI. Yeah, see that's just it, GD Tech, isn't it? Okay, so we still have the problem where Paul forgot to connect the freaking keyboard, and so therefore holding down the option key had the amazing power of doing nothing. Duh. Well, I hate doing the keyboard flex on the 1502s, really. So Apple, come on, you could have It would have been nice if they'd just put the keyboard connector maybe 4 or 5 millimeters further back down on the down towards this way, but no. Someone decided that they had to route their signals a certain way, and that's where the keyboard flex goes. What a pain in the backside. I would say I probably want to test this for a few days at the very least. Yeah, maybe even not release it until Monday. And they'll be running mem tests the whole time. Godfrey, realistically, a job like this I like to warrant all my stuff lifetime pretty much. Because barring a some other fault washing over it, like more corrosion or all that, it should effectively hold. Okay, so we still don't have display though. Now, being a Retina, that is actually quite tricky. So do we have no display, or do we have no backlight? Okay, let's plug in an external screen and at least deduce which way we're looking. Oh yeah, those. You're talking about the 1534s there, Mark? Oh yeah, check if the Apple logo lights up on this. No lights. So we've got no backlight. So then the question is it not detecting a screen, or is it a dead backlight circuit? Anyway, let me just at least see if we're getting activity. Plug in our Thunderbolt. I said plug in the Thunderbolt. Why aren't you going in, Thunderbolt? There we go. Okay, so we do have display. We just... Okay. It's always handy to have that test. Thank you, Jim. Another very handy contribution from Jim. Let's see if I can see it using... Where's the torch? I've got the UV torch. That often actually works easier than the visual torch. What size pen do you use for your extractor? It's an 8-inch one, Jaden. 8-inch, 150 or so. Don't look into the light. There we go. God damn, can't tell. I'll go get the torch. The visual torch, not the poke your eye out with UV torch. I actually could have sworn I bought the visual torch in here, but guess not. Crocodile, it doesn't work for these ones, the Retinas. The Retinas, unfortunately... No, it almost feels like it's... Well, I know a quick way to eliminate this. I'll stick it in my chassis. my spare chassis. Since I do have a 2015 chassis. And the nice thing is, at least with the one I have, it doesn't have a battery in it. So it's much easier to plug in that keyboard. Yeah, 50 would be open circuit. We don't have any backlight at all. So we're now dealing with, do we have, is it sensing the display? And just something wrong with the backlight? Oh shit, I do have a battery in this one. My bad. My bad. So here's a mainboard chassis that we wrecked earlier. Oh, I hate it when this happens. That's okay, it's my battery, it doesn't matter. Hey sweetie, are you right?
Just checking on you. Are you doing the video?
Yes, I am. Oh no, what's up?
Nothing, I was just checking.
Oh, you sure?
I was just laughing at something.
You're laughing?
Yeah.
Oh, there's nothing else?
Nothing else.
Nothing else?
I was laughing because I was watching Lisa Romano.
Right, yeah.
And you know, I got a lot of respect for her, as you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's being so serious. And she said, she didn't even realise that she said, windows are the eyes to the soul.
Instead of, yeah, husband.
And I was like, and I took it back to see if I had jumped on
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but no, she said windows are the eyes to the soul.
Wow, I'm surprised you let that one stay in
I
there.
know, and you know, she's talking so seriously,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
really deep stuff.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, she said,
bit of a slip up.
It's
Whoop.
just-
No, the kiddies are not causing trouble. Alita was just talking about one of the YouTubers she's watching, how they omitted unintentionally to edit out something, which resulted in a little bit of a funny. Hey, Q's. We'll plug the speaker in case it decides to go all beepy on us again, which can happen. It's like if you get the old MacBook Airs, the 2012 or pre-20, that sort of thing, and you can temporarily fix up their RAM beep, but then it comes right on back. It's like a stalker you can't get rid of. Okay, backlight's working. Okay, so we have would appear to be a dud screen on the other one. Now, if we're lucky, it's going to be a screen cable and not the screen. Because if it's the screen, then it's probably going to be beyond economical to do anything about it. Yeah, it's just the nature of the 1502s and even worse, the 1398s, that replacement screens are becoming like hen's teeth and the prices are set accordingly. Okay, so we'll have a look at the screen. We'll pull away the... We might have to just take it out and have a look at what state the cable is in. I mean, the machine looks so pristine, I'm quite surprised. A portable Mac Mini, yes, that's basically what he's ended up with. I mean, look at the quality. Yeah, that, it's like it's barely come out of the factory. Ah. Okay, so at this scenario, even though the likelihood is low, I'm going to take the screen apart, remove the clutch cover. There's a little bit of corrosion there, actually, I just noticed that. So if we're lucky, if we're really lucky, we will simply have a case where we've got a bad cable. If we're not lucky, well, I guess we won't have that. Fortunately, at least changing the cables on these is not too bad. The 1502 and the 1398, they're quite workable in regards to the clutch cover and cable change. 1466s are a little bit trickier because you've got to take that front bezel plate off, which usually leads to weirdness. So we're going to have to, as much as I don't want to, I'm going to have to flip this out. Come on, a little more. There we go. Now you get to see my bright white legs, which is a bit of a rarity around this climate. Oh, I was wondering why in the back of my head I'm saying you've got more to do yet, Paul. And this is where you can have more fun as well as the connections on that Wi-Fi. They're just like, hey, you touched us. We don't like that. We're out of here. And just the crimp end runs away from the coaxial cable. So we'll try and not do that. Go. Need to spend more time at Fraser Island. Honestly, 5 minutes outside out here and I would be perfectly crisp. I choose not to be like that though. Considering that I've lived up in Northern Territory, Western Australia, North and North Queensland most of my life, and yet I am actually technically a South Australian. It's I'm very happy with the fact that I managed to keep myself out of the sun as much as I have. Of course, in my youth I was a little bit stupid because you play cricket all day and all that sort of stuff and you don't feel the heat. So I'm sure I'm still going to have various bits and pieces cut out of me due to exposure. So Warren, thanks for dropping in. I always appreciate having the regulars around. So what's the Vaseline jar about? That's actually just it's just a weight, that's all. I know it sounds a little sus, but yep, that's pretty much all it is. Just a portable weight. It's got the right sort of mass about it. I always forget this one little itty bitty screw at the end here. Okay. Have a look under the microscope and see if there's any damage there. Hey Yosef, good to see you. And look, that is just oh, I just noticed that. I noticed that was actually kind of off slightly. And that is the backlight. Okay. Ever so slightly it was off. Hey Pierre. Alright, let's see if we can actually prove if that was just a fluke. Maybe I touched it. Or whether it's legit. So I don't know if my screen extension cable is going to do the honors or not. It's a bit of an iffy thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. When it works, it's great because it saves you having to do a whole bunch of bizarro contortions and whatnot just to test things. Oh, the 3-way USB stick. We don't obviously have a keyboard touch, so we're just going to have to wait for it to find its own way. I got the cable off AliExpress, I believe. I have no idea where or when, but I did. I've also got one for a 1466. The 1466 one I know definitely works, but the 1502 one, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And to compound the issue, we actually don't even know what we're dealing with here yet. I have a feeling I may have to... Oh, there we go. There. It's working. Okay, so basically that was caused by the backlight flex having slightly come off the... I don't know what you want to call this circuit board on the screen. We call it the T-Con board with the newer models, but I don't know about that one. What are we doing? No, I'll just let it... Actually, I don't know why I bother. No, there's no point letting it finish because I can't shut it down anyway. And that also proves that the cable works. So that's a twofer. Well, I'll be happy about that. At least it means that they don't need a new screen. At least it doesn't seem to be that way. Not to say that something might not go wrong. If you're wondering, this is the Wi-Fi antenna assembly. Yeah, it's quite lucky that it was just a cable that got pulled off like that, which is kind of, I gotta admit, that's kind of unusual because it is, you know, it's trapped under there. So I'm not quite sure how it got itself to the point where it disconnected like that, but it was definitely very loose, which could explain why it was so intermittent. Can we glue it down? No, we shouldn't actually have to. It should just clip on. So, oh, Adam. Hello, Adam. I mean, it's been running for that many years without issue. I think we can run it a few more years without issue. What I will do while we're here is check that these screws are tight. If you get a MacBook with a sloppy screen, as in the screen just flops back and forth a lot, it's often these hinge retaining T8 screws that are at fault. So these ones are tight, so that's good. It's not a FlexGate like thing. No, it's not. No, thankfully. Adam, did you see the earlier work with the RAM? Basically, at this point, I don't know for sure whether it's genuinely fixed or not. It's fixed, but whether it's going to persist or not, that's the question. I should charge extra for the interactive repair. Alright, no, we're locked. Just locking this clutch cover in. If you don't get it locked, then it makes it a real pain to slide it back like that. Okay. But yeah, that little clip flex thing, that should basically never come undone. So I'd say it was maybe a case of a factory slightly off at the factory, and then it just finally, after all these years, decided to give up. Okay. This is the tricky bit. This is the hardest bit of actually putting the clutch cover back on, is getting these little fidgety little SOP the things in. It's got to be done under the microscope for me. But certainly very thankful that that was not a screen replacement situation, because quite honestly, if it was a screen replacement situation, it would really be a case of sell the chassis, move your data. There's just not a lot of point, because the screens are so expensive. It's because they're Retina screens. Okay, so that's clipped in. No, we've already solved the RAM beep. Well, I shouldn't say we've solved the RAM beep issue, but we have silenced it. But whether it actually is truly fixed, that can only be determined over time. It's one of those things where you can't prove that you've fixed it until the end of time, and if it has or has not reoccurred. That's basically how it goes. It's not the way I like to have repairs, but sometimes you're sort of stuck with that. Yeah, Steve, I've actually just done that. I'm fortunate enough that the person has attended the chat, so I can tell them directly. until infinity plus 1. Oh, that's true, yeah. Can't forget the plus 1. Okay, so we've got 2 of the screen screws in, and now we have the joy of slowly bringing it down, make sure it doesn't make terrible noises, and then trying to line up everything just right, which is a bit tricky because as you tighten up the screws they inherently shift things again, but it seems alright there. And even if you get it lined up perfectly there can be warps in the chassis such that when you do open it back up again, you'll hear it going, and you're like, oh dear God, you know, don't want to hear that noise. So the best I can do is basically, as I said, run RAM test on it all weekend. You know, I realise tomorrow is only Thursday, but a basic, you know, need to determine whether it was just the heat temporarily fixing the RAM or whether it was actually just a ball that wasn't quite sitting right. Fortunately, because there's no flux on the back side, I can, for the moment, put this board back in. But Adam, you can see there's, no, you probably can't, but you can see all the flux on the board there. So we basically had to reflow these chips. One of them was a little bit reluctant to shift, at least I thought it was, but it could also have just been that I was trying very hard to ensure that things didn't get melted, because there's a lot of parts near that RAM and you've got to use a lot of heat, and they you really don't want to have to be replacing those parts. It's entirely doable to replace the parts, it's another hour or 2 of time. Okay. Miles, it certainly lends the situation to being that as a reasonably probable cause. What is interesting though is there's no impact marks anywhere on the chassis, so if it was dropped it would have been within a case, in which case it would have been a very severe shock. Anyway, who knows? Let's see, yeah, I'm just doing a full reassembly without the SSD and see how we behave. I only just got this morning, by the way, Adam. Okay, keyboard in, lock that. I really need to plug those Wi-Fi cables in, because if they get snared and snap off, I'll be very upset. I think the worst thing here was the fact that I had to mess up such a good looking board with flux. It really hurts to mess up a board. I mean, sure, it's going to get ultrasonic, but that's beside the point. I'm going to leave the camera disconnected because there's a bit too much flux around there. It is an aftermarket battery. The battery has been replaced. Okay. Laptop's had long life as my mother's Mac. It's entirely possible she has dropped it or hit it in 7 years. Okay, yeah. GD Tech, I will probably punch you if that's the case. Now you're making me paranoid. Thank you very much, GD Tech. Thank you so much for that. Your words of paranoia warm my Amigardian, or whatever it is, Amigardia gland in the head that makes you paranoid and anxious. I will remember that. I'm just going to use some warm air. This is not hot air, this is warm air. At Tech Fortress, that was very nice of you to even think of doing that. But yeah, just follow Greg's guide there, because yeah, he's right. YouTube take a fairly decent cut, and it takes a month to get here. I gotta remember when things were first starting out, and there was one particular chap, and he sent a heap of donations. It was actually, I just wasn't ready for that sort of thing. But that did enable me to get a lot of stuff, namely a microscope and a camera. There's been a substantial number of very generous people to this channel over the years. More than what I think I really should have or deserve at any rate, but I'm certainly always thankful for it. I do worry sometimes that I can't express the thanks well enough. People think, oh, you didn't appreciate that. Don't tell your other customers they've been waiting years for their repair. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Where is Pedro I Scam You? Okay, why are we not... Have we failed again now? Okay, this is interesting. We don't have backlight again. Yeah, we generally... That's peculiar. That's very peculiar. Yeah, definitely don't have backlight. So we have not fixed it completely yet. Maybe the screen thing was a fluke. Yeah, that's definitely not on. Maybe it fell out. Maybe. Tell you what we'll do is we'll put the extender flex on it. See if that changes anything. In which case there may be an issue with that connector, and it's just a case that the extender flex, for whatever reason, fit better. Provide a superior connection. Okay, like that. Hey, Toby. Did you forget? No, unfortunately it was not such a simple one as that. Alright, this is interesting. Very interesting. So it comes up with that. Oh. So we either have a signaling issue, like a cracked coupling cap or something like that, or we have, no, that's, or we just have a mating problem between these two. They just don't like each other, but if you stick something in between them, they're okay. Now the reason why I say it could be a signaling problem is because when you put over a long cable like this, it will change the timing of the signals a bit. Well, maybe this... I'm going to leave that latch off. Or it could be as per the description that it didn't always come up. So, you know, we're still dealing with the intermittent nature. Okay, so now it comes up. Alright. Disconnect that. I'm going to put the latch down. Clipped. Start it again. What did I miss? Right, now that works. God damn it. Oh, this is not the sort of problem you want to have. This is not the sort of problem you want. What did I miss, Jason? Dry joint? Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering whether maybe the latch might be doing the short. I'll have a look at the plastic insulation on it. And that looks quite intact. There is actually, interestingly, there's a bit of flux around there. That doesn't look... yeah, maybe it is factory. I don't know. There's a couple of pins slightly off. Like I said, the screen cable itself looks pristine, absolutely beautifully pristine. When you put down the flex, you should have put Captain tape. Oh, damn it! Right, playing that. Right, we're doing that. Right. Okay, so I'm just going to go and test each pin. See if any of them wiggle inappropriately. Yeah, the flux does look weird. It's almost like it's been reworked. And notice the differencing of the levels of solder here. So we've got very little there. We've got a fair amount there. But it does still look factory to me. Just sort of like a high flux factory. It's slightly wiggling that one, but it's probably me just getting a bit forceful. I mean, the liquid indicator is right there. Can't really blame that outright. Overall, this, see this, all this flux work, it's basically everywhere. It's on everything. It's almost like it was done by a different factory or a different process. That filter looks kind of sus-like, but it's... actually, is that a crack in it? Is that infinitesimally cracked? It might just be the boundary line between the metal end cap versus the filter body. Junk inside, yeah, that's the other option I'm going to have a look at. I'm just going to compare it to another filter cap I've got here, which is all blurry. Filter cap? What am I mean? Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it's just a process thing. I don't think it's actually cracked. Just checking some stuff. And that's for the power to the display. It's not actually backlight, it's just display power. Yeah, let's check the connector itself. Play it safe and replace it. No, I guess. Genuinely, I cannot really see anything. I mean, there's a bit of fluff in there and whatnot, but again, it's such a pristine looking setup. So no, I can't blame that really. Okay, Bronchus. Oh man, I gotta put some grease on that thing. Well, let's try move the hinge around a bit or something. It could still actually be a cable break. That's the other possibility. It could be a break in one of the strands in the cable. And so when let's just power it up and see if we can coerce it into failing. Okay, so we've got that. Now I'm going to get my plastic spudger and see if I can dodgy it up. Get the Dodgy Brothers action going here. Nada, nada, nada. Nada, nada, nada. Just tell me if it flickers at any time, but it doesn't seem like it's misbehaving. That's quite robust. Okay, let's try the open and close sequence. Hey, Thomas. It's behaving fine. I can see that it switches off as it comes up for the close, so the magnetic sensor, the whole sensor is working fine. Look, I mean, this is a very frustrating situation. The only thing I can do at this point really is to run it for a few days and see how it goes. It's, this is one of those jobs where everything is playing the intermittent game. So it's intermittently displaying, intermittently the RAM will go, well, hopefully the reflow fix the RAM up, but that's a difficult one. Difficult because you can't prove it to be fixed. This is why I do like my smoking gun solutions. And unfortunately, we are going to be denied that satisfaction on this job for the moment. And that's fairly frustrating. So unfortunately that's going to go back on the shelf, and I'll see how it goes in the cold of the morning. When I mean cold of the morning, I'm not literally meaning it's that cold. It's more a case of the machine itself has had a chance to shut down. Alright, what's next, Paul? What do you got here? Chucking. Let's see. Okay. Got a 1502, another 1502. This one I actually repaired a while ago, and then the person sent it back saying that it's still going slow. So what we're going to do is give it a test to see if any of the temperature sensors have lost their head. Hey, Dadamras. Yeah, it's like, what do you do with them? It's, you know, if you bill it out, you're probably going to have to refund it shortly. Yeah, the battery is unplugged on that one, by the way. So yeah, what we're looking for on this is to see if we have any sensor problems. The battery looks okay, all that sort of stuff. So battery seems to be holding its own. It's at 98%. Well, it gets a bit tricky, Adam, yeah, because obviously I don't want to charge you for a job that isn't a fix. We don't do the whole hour thing here, of course. Alright, we've got a spinning wheel here. That's first point of interest. And I remember I didn't have the spinning wheel when I tested this originally. But I'll do my best, Adam. We'll see how it is in the morning. Okay. Now, the spinning wheel could also be that this stick is maybe getting a little old. Yeah, I don't like that. It's airport prox is 129, but that's normal. Okay, this is interesting. Battery is showing 254 amps. That can't be right. But since I've never looked at it before, yeah, that's a little peculiar. I'm going to guess that it's just out of the hardware monitor software isn't doing its job right. So the client who bought a A1398, he bought it on eBay, missing a few screws, need U8900 done. Did it. 6 months later, he came back and said, "Oh yeah, I've had a couple of those as well, Jason. Now with the U89, with the 1398s, I'm really trying hard to avoid them because they're starting to get to the point where that's what they're going to do." Yeah. Oh, you had it had a swollen battery and it was all good. Hopefully it doesn't come back at all. Okay, let's run Bally and see if this thing works. So he insists the battery should have been part of the original U8900 repair. Yeah. Scope creep can be a real issue. Oh yeah, that's got the classic worn out speakers. Frame rate's not too bad. Yeah, it's doing 50 frames per second. Alright, so this is going to suck as well, because according to my testing here, things aren't too bad. What year is this one? Hopefully it's a 2013 or something. God damn it, 2014. Yeah, you'd think Apple would be using Kevlar cones or polymer cones or something. That battery reading 255 amps, that is interesting. But like I said, I don't know if it's the hardware monitor misbehaving or not. I'm going to see if the MRI will run on this. I have a feeling it's not going to. MRI usually is only 2013. But we'll see. We'll see if anything comes up. Yeah, the macOS could be choked. Unfortunately, how do you convey that? Yeah. Okay, Jim, take care of yourself as much as you can. Sporadic faults are the bane of everybody's existence, sadly, yes. I have a feeling this is just going to lock up hard. Okay, diagnostics has some issues, but it may be simply because it's not willing to work on this model. Yeah, okay, it's just a boot ROM. Oh, my wife just scooted past for some reason. Maybe they had it resting on a soft cloth or something. Everything tests fine. Which reminds me, I need to send a copy of this to the people who send me these computers. Because they've got a chipmunk, which helps a lot, but I think they need a... The trouble is, the MRI, it only works with, well, we got lucky, 2014 on this one actually worked. It's E-liter, by the way. E-liter. So according to this, everything is hunky-dory. Well, I'm going to pop the back off and have a look and see what's going on there. Because usually this shop's very good at pre-filtering for me. They don't typically send me things that aren't actually needing work. And I'll just have to take this off screen while I do this because there's a sticker on the bottom. I have tried to find a vinyl or some kind of semi-adhesive opaque layer thing that I can place on the bottom of these machines so that I can hide any job specific information that may reveal who the owners are and things like that. I tried some vinyl, but unfortunately it doesn't have that sort of static attraction it has to itself with the MacBooks. I prefer not to use a sticker because if for whatever reason the machine happens to sit around for a while, stickers do have a strong tendency to eventually merge with the anything underneath them. I apologize, I don't know why I'm buffering. I've got no reason to buffer. I wonder if the heat pipes failed, maybe. Yeah, it feels pretty equally warm. Ask Lewis for some of his stickers. Tick, 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 tick. They never come off. Hey, one way. The one thing that immediately jumps out at me right now, though, is that this SSD is getting old. And so it may be running into just Yeah. Okay, so there's some of my old rework, which oddly enough I didn't cover with UV cure. That's a little interesting. I mean, it's not a major problem in that particular point, but I'm still a little bit surprised I didn't put the UV cure on it. And geez, okay, I missed one. Okay, that could be a fault. I'm just trying to work out how the hell that could have happened. That certainly could be the fault. I had a 1466 earlier today. There was a board and it had lost that clip. And even though it sits in there and it's moderately snug, it can all of a sudden just start not working. Yeah, it loses contact or communications and then it misbehaves. I think that was actually the fault. And that's entirely my fault. It would appear as though maybe, yeah, I don't know. That not being clipped down would explain them having performance issues, because if the fan all of a sudden doesn't report, then of course the SMC is going to say, well, we're going to go into failure mode, yes, fail safe. So yeah, I think that's probably the problem. And yep, that means I'm going to have to cover the cost of postage and all that sort of stuff, and rightfully so. That was a wholesome, solid cock-up on my behalf. The heatsink, yeah. I gotta say though, they've accumulated a crap ton of dust since I sent it to them, and it wasn't that long ago. Could have been someone else? I'm willing to say it was me. Yeah, maybe I was just rushing, not, being distracted or something like that. I'm willing to accept that I could have done that. I think that's entirely plausible. By the way, if you are a tech and you don't have one of those little air compressors, they're really worth getting. Captain it down. I don't think I need to. It locked properly when I put it down. It definitely was fine. Okay, right. And that fits pretty much the symptoms that they were explaining, so. Now, where's my two little ones? So you got a super cheap silent air compressor, as loud as a fridge when it turns on. What capacity is that one? I like this little 3 litre one, the just airbrush one. because it's very small in the workshop. It doesn't have a strong electrical sagging effect. It doesn't take up a lot of room, very lightweight. I can just pick it up and put it wherever I want. And the accessories, the pressure that comes out is not too much, so I can actually clean iPhones and things like that without worrying about exploding or rupturing the various microphone membranes. Definitely still recommend the backup. Oh yeah, for sure. But I actually pass that on to the people that have sent me this, the actual business that sent us. Whenever I send back a job, I put in a note of my recommendations or things that they need to look out for when they give it back to the customer, or pre-customer work that they should do. Okay. Oh right, 40 litre, yeah, so it's one of those workshop type ones. A 5,000 psi pressure washer, that'll do the job nicely, yeah. I reckon one of those, they would ablate the, what do you call it, the anti-glare right off these screens. Okay, so that's come up at a pretty good speed. I'm going to shut down. I'm going to plug in my tester. It is an original one. It was one of the ones before the Samsungs, so I actually had a couple of the Samsung ones come through and they're all completely dead. Particularly sad too, I had a stack of, I think, a dozen 512 gigabyte original Mac ones, and they're all dead. Hey, Miss Sarah. Okay. Got an AE question. If you or a customer rep opens a dispute on an item and you close the dispute, can you later open up a new dispute on the same item? Oh, geez, I don't know, actually. Yeah, I've thankfully never had to deal with that. I can tell you about PayPal disputes if you like, but not AliExpress so much. Okay, so that ran a lot faster. You didn't see the pinwheel or anything like that. It shows up there. That I know is definitely because it's just starting up. The current's still stupid on the battery, so I'm going to presume it's just a misreading. Interestingly enough, though, the SSD stats here, it says it's got 94% life remaining, so this may have maximum temperature oh no, that's not lifetime. Okay, the highest that's ever gotten is 64. Yeah, it looks like this may not have actually been running much in its life. Hey, Miretto. Hey, sweetie. Oh, Loki. Oh. Hello, Loki.
He's not going to want to come in.
He's what?
He's probably not going to want to be held. He's just having a sticky beak. He's in a mood.
Is he? Oh. What are you in a mood for?
He was on the toilet crying.
Great, great. I can try and hold him for a little bit. I'll just first switch over, so... Alright, we got Loki who wants to maybe show his face. Loki! Come here. Give me you. My God, you're fat. Alright, this is Loki. He is the brother of Milo. Oh, Loki. He is also quite a snuggle bug. Pretty much every night he has to snuggle and sleep with a human. Although he will go off to his own bed, but he still needs to have his night snuggles. Major. Yeah, yeah, and he is fat. You are so fat. So very, very fat. There. You know? Say hello to the camera. What's that? Yeah. Alright, there you go. You go back to your mama. Does he talk much? Yes, he talks quite a bit. He talks very differently to, say, Milo. Milo really lets you know if he wants attention. He just like lets out. He runs through the hallways and just goes, he just does that sort of thing. Loki, he's more of a whiny bum. We actually call him when he was a kitten, and we just had him in, just collected him from the place that where they were abusing the animals. He was the one in the box jumping up, trying to get out, and he was all squawky and whatnot. So until we actually gave him a name, he was known as Squawky. And yeah, he certainly does create a fair bit of mischief. Alright, so this is going pretty good. He's not as loud as Milo. Milo is very loud, whereas Loki is frequent, but just more high pitch and whiny. Did you see Murato's question? Let's see. Is there any way to retract info in the company? Oh, the default code. You tried to use it but wasn't successful. Basically, it will get overwritten by other information, but I can check in the details. Was it a particular... I'm trying to think. Just let me know what board it was and I'll just be able to find them, and once I find one entry that you put in there, I can then resolve, deal with the rest of them. I don't really provide a lot of editing facilities of OB data to people submitting the data, mostly because it leads to the possibility of data abuse, as it were. So it's easy for me to just deal with the very infrequent situation like this manually. So just email me with what it was that you were putting up there, and I'll be able to find your unique ID. And once I know your unique ID, I can just roll back whatever submissions were made. You will also probably have an OBD local file for that board somewhere, and if you see that data that you didn't want in there, you can just remove the file. What was the file? What was the software that gave you the drive stats? That is just HW Monitor, and I just went to the drive and hovered over it and it gave me those stats. Yeah. I wanted to retract the default CPU reading for the 3023 and add the details per board by CPU. Well, if you just do the boards by CPU, just don't worry about the default one. That's okay. Just go ahead and put the various custom ones that you want to put in there, and it's not a problem that you put one in there for a default, because most people won't really bother looking at that. They'll be looking for the CPU specific ones. I think that was definitely the fault. It would also explain why it lasted a while and then started misbehaving. At least I bloody well hope it is going to be that. So I think we can shut that one down. Thank goodness too, because that warranty job, yeah. Well, Miles, I do agree with you. I will obviously send through that information anyway. Most of the time I do advise on backups. It's amazing how many people don't back up, including myself. Like I've said many a time, if it's not automatic, it's not going to get done. if I get annoyed with a stubborn repair, I use a micro nozzle to triple the output pressure of use it as a cutter. Yeah, yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Alright, I think that's it for tonight on the repairs. I'm pretty much done. It's getting late. I did get a new tool in today. This isn't a very interesting tool for most of you. You've all got one of these. I've gone through several of them, and like I had this cheap junk. I mean, they're all cheap junk anyway, but I got this one, and what really bugged the hell out of me with this one was the fact that it had no depth gauge. It was like, damn it, how did I miss that? Anyway, so I had no depth gauge, and yeah, it's just misbehaving in general now, so it's in the bin. No right to repair for that one. And so yeah, I got this one. It was on special. So again, this is just your generic one, but at least it has the depth gauge and it's got the lock. So I need the lock and I need the depth gauge. The display is also much bigger, so I'm happy about that, and they gave me a free battery, whoopee-doo. But overall, you know, for the work I do, it's going to do just fine. It's a little bit gritty on the slide, and quite frankly, I don't know if I'm going to care enough. Yeah, it's just your very standard, cheap, probably made it for $2 in China sort of thing, and then they rebadged it. But the larger display, I'm happy with that. The lock on there, I'm good with that. I also like the fact that they got the wheel drive, and yeah, the depth gauge. Finally, I have that back again. I do wish they produced a left-handed version of this, to be honest, because you know I am left-handed, so I tend to do, and I can't see the display. Maybe there is a left-handed version out there. I highly doubt it. Basically, this is the burden of being a left-handed person. You're gifted in one way and you're tortured in another, having to use a number of tools that are strictly right-handed only. That's the way life goes. I got this from Element 14. I think it was like $23 or something like that for me, which is quite a bit more than what you get at the dollar store, but it is definitely a little bit better than a dollar store one. Oh yeah, the Nikko. I know that Nikko is Japanese for cat, only for other reasons. Certain YouTube channels I follow. They don't make left-hand screwdrivers. I've noticed that, yeah. It's really frustrating, yeah. Or needles either, yeah. Anyway. Okay, I'm out of here. I'll have probably more tools to show in the near future. I've got some micrometers coming. Maybe you might get here tomorrow, I'm not sure. Anyway, anything new comes along, I'll let you know. I'm out of here. You all take care. Thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with all my dribble. And I will see you probably tomorrow. Until then, take care.